Hello again, welcome to another Toku Ramblings. So today we'll be talking about Mebius's two movies. I say two because the other one really is not a Mebius, it's more just, hey, Mebius is in this movie. I was also originally going to talk about like the Gaiden episodes that came out, they're kind of short, they're easily fillable here, but the OCD part of me wanted to wait until I watched the last one, which is when I get to like the sort of Zero era of Ultraman that kind of took place between Mebius and Ginga. So that's gonna be a bit. So first up, we have Ultraman Mebius and the Ultra Brothers, the big anniversary movie that it's not good. It's probably the worst thing that Mebius has underneath it. So essentially, the series starts 20 years before the main series, which sees basically all of the original Showa-era Ultras fighting off against a returning Yapul, who's become his most powerful creation, the U-Killers Saurus. They're not able to defeat it and are ultimately forced to seal it at the bottom of the ocean by giving up their ability to become Ultraman as they take up jobs in the Kobe region of Japan. In the present, Mirai has been sent to the Kobe region on an investigation, meeting an ocean with her named Aya Jingunji and her younger brother, who... yeah, the kid sucks. The kid sucks. You know the arc he's going to get when you see him. He's bitter because Ultraman didn't save him in the past, and well as he doesn't like them, so, he's going to go through this arc about being more optimistic and understanding, which is... it wouldn't be so bad if there wasn't the other big problem. But back to like the sort of synopsis. It says, as a coalition of aliens known as the Alien Union have come to free Yapul, and more or less they decided to do it by targeting the other Ultras to unduel the seal. So here's the big problem with this movie. It doesn't make use of Mebius' best strength, the camaraderie around the main cast. For most of it, Mirai is on his own while the others are kind of back at the base, which they do come to help, but mostly Mirai is spending time with the kid and his sister who exists. She's there as a love interest and it doesn't really go anywhere. I like that more or less they kind of just, that she does come back in a later episode, but that's just kind of it. It's just cool. And hey, getting back almost all of the original actors is neat, and seeing what they are getting up to since giving up their powers is neat, but it's so hard to look. The reason I'm struggling to find stuff to talk about, because more than anything, this feels like an extended episode of the show more than anything. Nothing about it besides the fact, hey, we've brought back the old Ultras, makes this feel special. There's nothing like awe-inspiring besides, obviously, we see all the show writers alongside the current one near the end of the movie, which again is cool, but it feels so long and boring, and nothing happens that makes it feel special. It doesn't more or less feel like it takes the best elements of the show and puts it on display here. Again, and the rest of guys are basically separate from Mirai for most of the movie, and he spends with a kid that you probably will not care about in any way, shape, or form. Or in a sense, he's just the kid of the movie that sometimes just shows up. No. I know I'm kind of just going on in circles, but again, the movie's just boring. Right? It's spectacle with no substance, and it just kind of is there. It's neat, and I like some of the credits, celebrations we see, but yeah, let's just move on to the, superior movie and Superior Ultra 8 Brothers. So, in this weird alternate continuity, we more or less travel back to the mid-60s when the original Ultraman premiered, where Daigo Madoka, Shin Asuka, and Gamu Takeyama were the best of friends. hanging out whenever they went while discussing their dreams for the future with a mysterious girl they really don't know. 30 years afterwards, they sadly become sad adults who have put their dreams on the back burner as they live their lives and have kind of drifted apart in them. But Daigo begins to have strange visions and the appearance of kaijus that will lead him back to his dreams and the truth of who he is. So, as I mentioned there at the beginning, this really isn't a Mebius movie. I mean, he shows up, and he does get a save, but he's ultimately kind of taken out for a bit, so he can't really do much. So, primarily the film focuses on these alternate versions of the Neo-Frontier trio, though it's mostly Daigo, since he's on the front lines for everything that's happening, while Shin and Gamu are more the side points. And look, this film can kind of be confusing if you think about it too much. So, like, are these the original Ultras that they took on, and, like, are there human personas or hosts? It's implied, but never really fully stated. And, like, the film has this weird, like, Gainax ending where they and their main love interest from their old series, like, just fly off into the nebula, which I guess is them going home. And look, this is one of those movies you kind of don't want to think too hard about the connotations or what's going on. Because, this is a really good film. Like, even without being attached to the shows that were originally aired, which I don't know how in Japan you probably wouldn't have watched this original trilogy, but what the cast is mostly a sort of vessel to explore, never giving up on your dreams even when things get hard. And it's one of those things I like. You have the kids who enjoy the ultra action and the monsters and the kaijus and stuff, and then as you're an adult, you're like, oh, this feels a lot relatable. Like, you've gone through those points in your life when you are growing up and you have to think, you gotta be more realistic. You gotta focus less on your hobbies and other things so you can actually live a life. And ultimately, you kind of see that it sucks for them. All three of them are miserable. Well, in the jobs they currently take, and more or less don't feel like they're fulfilled as people. It's something that can resonate. And that's something I really like when a film does allow you to dig deeper on that. Don't dig too deep, because it gets kind of messy. Christ, I forgot. So, like, obviously more or less in the previous film, the main villain was Yapu, which I kind of feel like wasn't the best choice since he was going to become a major villain in the show. So, like, I get it. He's an iconic villain especially for the Showa period. But the Monster Union just kind of feels like it's just a proto for Deus that would become more prominent in the show itself. Oh. And apparently they were originally going to use Yapul again, which I feel like would have been a terrible choice, but I like that they switch it over to a different character. It gives this film more of its own flavor. But really, Hippolyte's not the main villain. Rather, it's these black silhouettes or amalgamations of negative emotions that prey on humans' negative emotions. It kind of goes back to how final this era sort of felt. Like, this was going to be the end. Like, we had the send-off for the Showa heroes. Okay, we really don't get the send-off for, like, anything post-Gaia. But, like, for, like, the nostalgia crowd, we are seeing, like, these fights for, like, the last time, potentially. Like, essentially, I do think this film does a lot of what Superior 8 does. I feel like they make better use of the classic Showa heroes as mentors as they kind of just show up around the city. I think the ending is a lot better. It feels more like a movie, and by extension, a send-off for the franchise as a whole, and especially for Daigo and his actor Hiroshi Nagano, who has not appeared as a character again. It's really great, and yes, I definitely would recommend watching this. The other ones, you have an hour to burn, go ahead, but this is the main one. But yeah, I'll come back to do the Gaiden movies, the Gaiden episodes at some point after I get to that. But let's jump to the next era for the first new generation series next time for Ginga.